All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. Happy Monday to everyone, if I can say that. Welcome and welcome. So, if you are joining us, this is Ask the Pediatrician Hour. So, Ask the Pediatrician Hour is a program where you get to ask your questions live and get immediate answers from a pediatrician. I am Demi Salaboide. I'm a pediatrician. I'm the CEO Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. And Ask the Pediatricians Foundation is a non-profit organization that is committed to the welfare and the well-being of all children globally, and especially we focus on Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa, where majority of our children are still dying from preventable causes. So we do that through health education and information and providing support around um, health issues that children may have. So welcome everyone. If you're just joining us, welcome. And as you're joining us, please invite your friends and family to join us, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, group page, whichever platform you're watching this evening. I'm so glad to be back to Nigerian time. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. So, what I'm going to do is to try and share the video and also make sure that it is pinned in all our various groups. So, just give me a couple of minutes to do that. And at the same time, I want you to also help me. Please help me by sharing the video um, and inviting people, send it as a link to your friends and family anywhere they have so that they can join us now. I'm trying to find the video. And if you have questions, feel free to drop your questions on the platform, whichever platform you're watching from. For those of you who are watching on Ask the Pediatricians Foundation page, you can just drop straight on our page and we will see it. And for those of you who are watching on our Ask the Pediatricians Facebook group as well, you can also just drop your question. I will say that. But if you are watching on any other page that is not Hacks the Pediatricians page or Facebook group, you have to click on the video so that it will take you to the page and then you will be able to um, see the real video and drop your question, because that's the only way I'll be able to see it and I'll be able to answer, because I do see some people dropping their questions on under the link that has been shared, and obviously we may not have seen those kind of questions and we will not have been able to answer them. So welcome everyone. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just sharing the links, making sure everybody can see it. And while I'm doing that, I just also want to remind you, if you have any questions, please start with the age of the child. As pediatricians, we see children from 0 to 18 years. And so that is a huge and variable group. And so because of that, you always have to help us by telling us which baby we are talking about, because some people say because they're 18-year-old babies. So you have to tell us the age of the child. If you're asking about weight and stuff like that, please make sure that you um, tell us the current weights and all that. So per birth weight, so that will help us to know where we are. Okay, so I think those are the my and try and keep the questions straight to the point. Don't tell us all the life story of the child. Just go straight to the point. Just give us only salient information that are relevant to us answering your questions. And so keep it short and simple. That's that. And then what else? Um, I think that's it. Yeah, I hope that's all. I can't seem to find the video in the group to pin it. So I'm just trying to do that, then we can start. All right, I've seen it now. Um, okay, just one more minute and we'll be ready to start. But you can start dropping your questions now. Start dropping the questions and we will be able to answer them as soon as possible. Okay, finally, but if after, because I have only 1 hour for this program, if after this program you still have questions, you are free to post your questions to our Ask the Pediatricians Facebook group if it is for children health issues, and if it is for adult health issues, you can post it on ATP family Facebook group. And for those who are first time mom, you can post your question on FTM babies group, and then you can for those who have we need some psychological support around the loss of child, pregnancy, you can put it on ATP Mom group. Those are the 4 groups that we currently run. Okay, so for those of you on Facebook, let me know you are able to see me, because last week I noticed that most of you were not, we can't see you for a long time. So I think that is a Facebook glitch, but I hope that's not a glitch for today. And if you can see me, you can hear me, let me just know. Okay, I can see some comments already. So that means you can see me and that means you can hear me. All right, so welcome everyone. I finished with all the admin stuff. I've shared all the videos, pinned all the videos, and given all the background rules. So we can now start. Please ask your questions on time. We have just 1 hour, but if after 1 hour you still have questions, not a problem. We actually run our Facebook groups, and you can post your questions on our groups from Mondays to Saturdays, 24 hours every day. So there'll be somebody there to answer your questions. Of course, if it's an emergency, please don't post on our group. For emergencies, please take the children to the hospital. Emergency means something that is life threatening that needs to be attended to immediately. Any question that you need an answer like straight away, please don't wait, go to the hospital. But if it's something education, information, you can always leave those on our groups and we'll try and address them. Hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, we'll try our best to answer your questions. All right, so where should I start with today? Okay, let me start with Instagram people. Then we'll kind of alternate between Instagram and Facebook. So thank you so much for those of you who are always consistently joining us on Facebook, on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. Thank you. All right, the first question is from Smart and Fabulous. Hello, what causes drooling in 3 months old baby? All right, so most babies will drool. There's nothing wrong with babies drooling saliva. They bring out a lot of saliva because they are not able to swallow as much as they produce. So the only reason why you are not drooling is because as adults, as you're producing the saliva, we're swallowing them. But sometimes children are not as efficient. So a little bit of saliva coming out of the mouth of a baby is nothing to worry about. Just put a baby just dry. However, if you think your baby is really, really like drooling, like you have to be changing beeps every hour or several times throughout the day, fine, you may want to see a pediatrician because we need to be sure there's no other issues. But if it is just something mild, most babies do that. And they tend to do it more, especially when they're getting towards the time when they begin to, they are going to start bringing out their teeth. So, but most of the time, we're not worried about a little bit of drooling in babies. That is perfectly normal. All right. The next question from Beautiful Light. Okay, is it normal for a 4 month old girl to still get white discharge sometimes? Discharge from where? You have to be very specific. You don't. I always don't like making assumptions so that I won't enter into trouble. I used to do all that before, but I tried. So if you want to say somebody is having a discharge, you have to be very specific. So where does it start from? It's from the eyes, from the mouth, from the nose, from the vagina. You have to be very, very specific so that we will not give the wrong answer to the right question. Okay, so on my list in the question box, my son is 8 months old and 3 weeks. He's been vomiting, and immediately he vomits, he poop, it turns red because it pushes the poo out. I'm not sure I understand the part of turning red. We took him to the hospital. We're told it's a virus. We're not sure how to continue feeding or what to do. I'm not sure I get your question about it turns red. What do you mean it turns red? What is turning red? You need to clarify that part of it. Anyway, I'm happy you've gone to the hospital. And so I guess they're telling you it's a gastroenteritis, it's an infection. The most important thing when a child is having diarrhea, most of the time they're due to viruses. They don't need any medication, they don't need any special food, anything. You need to give them ORS, you need to rehydrate the child. That is the most important thing to do, to rehydrate them, making sure they are getting all the fluids that they are losing, and give oral zinc. The oral zinc helps the intestinal lining to heal quickly. And that is all you need to do. You can give the zinc for up to 10 days. Some people will do 14 days and just give the ORS as long as the child is passing the watery stool. So you just keep feeding the child the way you've been feeding the child. So the child, an 8 month old, should be on complementary feeding and you should still be breastfeeding. So I'm not really sure what your concern is about how to continue feeding. Just continue feeding the child. Don't stop feeding. So the mistake most parents make, or it's a myth or beliefs, is that if a child is having watery stool, then you should stop feeding them so that the stool will stop. No, that is actually wrong. In fact, you actually need to feed them the more because they're actually losing water, they are losing uh, nutrients through the stool. So when a child is having diarrhea, don't reduce the food. Ideally, you should actually increase the quantity of food they are eating. So what you need to do to pay attention to the hygiene around the baby, wash your hands frequently, especially when you're changing diaper and all that. You wash your hands frequently before you make the food, before you make ORS. Wash your hands before you feed the child. Wash your hands before doing anything, and after doing anything for the child, you wash your hands and you keep giving the ORS and keep giving the child the normal food the child would take. Keep giving ORS, keep breastfeeding and giving complementary feeds. Even after the diarrhea has stopped, you should keep on breastfeeding and giving the complementary feeding and increase the quantity for even up to 2 weeks because we need to replace all that the child has lost. So that is all you need to do. There's no special how to feed the child or anything. That's all you need to do. I hope that is the question, and if not, feel free to um, pop in more information. So, Lotto, my 7 months old has just a tooth. Is it safe? There's nothing dangerous about a child having just one tooth anyway. So I don't know what you mean by is it safe, but there's really nothing wrong with a child having one tooth. So I guess whether you want to ask whether is that normal or abnormal, whichever one, there's nothing wrong with the child. It doesn't look absurd at all. It's perfectly normal for a 7 month old baby to have just one tooth. And it's perfectly normal for the baby not to have any tooth at all at 7 months. And some babies may not have their first tooth until they're about a year old. So there's nothing absurd, there's nothing abnormal about that. There is what we call a variation of what can still be normal variation. So I don't want you to worry about it. All right, I can say. All right, the next question is from Beautiful Light. Is it normal for a 4 month old baby to get white discharge from a vagina? Okay, yes, you have updated your question. So you asked about vaginal discharge. There's nothing abnormal about it. Okay, so whitish discharge from the vagina of the newborn babies or infants is due to the effects of the mother's hormone still circulating in the baby's blood, and it is perfectly normal. All right, so there's nothing to worry, and you don't need to do any special intervention or anything. Just clean the vulva area. The vulva is what you see on the outside. I know a lot of mothers call it vagina, but what you actually see on the outside of the baby's the genital area, we call it the vulva. That's not the vagina. The vagina is actually much inside and it's more like a passage. So what you see on the outside is the vulva, and that's all you need to wash and clean. The same way you wash your hands, the same way you wash the leg, the same way you wash the face. That is exactly the same way you wash the vagina. Don't try to dip your hand inside anywhere or try to press anything. Just wash the surface, dry it, apply the normal, whether it's Vaseline or shea butter, whatever you are applying on your baby's skin, exactly the same thing you need to do. And there's nothing wrong with it. So babies can actually bleed as if they're having like a period. It's just, again, the effect of the mother's hormone. It's nothing to worry about, and you don't need to panic about anything, and you don't need to start poking or trying to look for anything that is not lost. So all that is still perfectly normal. All right, so I think that is all from Instagram for now. Let's just go to Facebook, because Facebook people are eating me so hard today. I thank God that Facebook is working well today. All right, good evening. Good evening, Dr. Bemisola. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Facebook user. So for those of you on our Facebook group, if you don't give StreamYard the permission to show your name, I won't see your name. But it's fine if you're happy with that, as long as you don't break your comments into two, because I won't know how to join them together, because there are many Facebook users. So, but it's fine. But if you want me to see your name, uh, on this platform, you have to give StreamYard the permission to show your name. All right. Another Facebook user, my baby is 9 months old, is yet to stand. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So a lot of mothers worry about developmental milestones. And most of us are worried because we don't know what is in normal. And before we start to worry about what is abnormal. So most babies actually stand around 10 to 11 months. So there's nothing wrong for a 9 month old who is not standing, because that's not the right time anyway. She's crawling, which is what we expect for a 9 month old. Is the development delayed? Not at all. The development is perfectly normal. So if you want to have more information about normal developmental milestones, we have our website, www.axipediatricians.com. You can go and read about is my child development on course. I think that's the topic. Or you can listen to my podcast, Ask Dr. Bimi ATP podcast. There's also something on child developmental milestones. So these are platform where you can learn the normal first, so that if you don't get anything clear, then you can always come and ask us, and then we can always clarify. And for the first time mothers, because they tend to ask all this kind of, I don't know what is normal, like somebody was asking about the tools, somebody is asking about walking, standing at 9 months. You can also get the FTM Companion. That's a book, a digital product I have, that details all these, what is normal, what to expect, how do you take care of your newborn babies and all that. And there's also a companion, the frequently asked questions, 500 of them that I put together for first time mom. So if you're interested, you can let us know, and we'll see, direct you to the link and where you can get it. All right, the next question is from Zilly Bliss. My baby will be 5 months on the 1st of April. She isn't taking so much interest in breast milk again. She barely suckles more than 5 minutes on the breast. When I try to feed her with a cup and spoon, I have to practically force her to take a fill. She's not running temperature. Okay, so try and keep your questions straightforward and short, so that it doesn't get too long. If your question is too long, Facebook is going to cut it off. So for Zilly, the most important thing I want to know is from your baby is, what is the weight of your 5 month old? Because usually as babies get bigger and older, they are more effective and they are more efficient in their sucking. So sometimes they don't have to stay as long on the breast like they will when they were like newborns, when they are just learning how to suckle and how to breastfeed. So sometimes mothers think babies not getting enough breast milk because they are not spending as much time on the breast like they used to do. But there's nothing wrong with the baby. It's just that baby is more effective and more efficient in draining the breast. So within 5 minutes, drained everything. So what is very important for us is the weight of the baby. It is not how many hours or how often or how long they stay at the breast. It's the weight of that baby. So Zilly, what I want to know is what is the weight of your 5 month old? Because that is what is going to tell me whether your baby is getting enough breast milk. Because your baby is getting enough breast milk, your baby will have a normal weight for that age. So that is what you need to do. And so don't need to worry. Keep breastfeeding your baby, but let me know the weight. I'm happy your baby is not having fever, and I notice she pulls at every feed. That is normal as long as the stools are not watery. So tell us the weight of the baby, then I'll give you an update on that. Um, the next question, say, please, doctor, my baby is 1 year, 8 months, 20 months old, 3 weeks. I want to know if he's developing properly. He just started last month calling Dada Mama Ball, which is what it says. Maybe because he likes playing with anything around the ball. Is he doing well? Okay, so for a 20-month-old baby should definitely be saying more than 3 words. We expect a 20-month-old baby to start joining 2 words together. But then it's not too worrisome, and it's not happy when it comes to potty training. Potty training is not always. Some big children are not ready at 20 months. Some children are not ready even at 2 years. So we're not worried about potty training at this point. Okay, so you just give the child some time, but the speech is what we want. We want to see a lot more words coming out. So um but at least your baby is talking, so just try and keep encouraging. We have a lot of tips on speech development for babies on our Facebook group. Since you are from our Facebook group, so just go to our guide section, go to guide 4. There's what we call do it yourself speech therapy, how you can stimulate, promote your child's language development. So you can go through that and start using some of those tips. Number one, what you need to realize that children must play before they start to talk. Actually, the what we call the expressive language is the last part of speech development. Okay, so we expect some children to be able to do some what we call pay attention, do some turn taking, do some imaginative play. These are pre-verbal skills that must be present before the child can now begin to use the words. Obviously, parents tend to focus on the words at the top, but if you go to that guide, you will see the pyramid of how what constitutes speech and language development by the speech therapist, and then it will teach you what are the tips on how you can promote your child's joint attention, promote the interactive play, and then the language will come out. Tips like giving them choices, giving them the words and all that are things that you can apply. All right, so I hope that is helpful for the person. Facebook can hear you loud, clear. Thank you very much. The next question: my baby of 9 months hardly sleep at night. I make sure she sleeps. She's well fed and her diapers are dry, but she doesn't sleep for long. How many hours does she sleep? Okay. Sometimes parents always say a lot of words, and you have not really also you still have not communicated to the pediatrician, because we are not looking at the sentiment or the emotion of what we're saying. We are looking for the facts. So your baby is not sleeping well, she hardly sleep well. I'm looking for how many hours, how many minutes she's sleeping. That is the more important information, which is still missing here. So how many hours does your baby sleep in a 24-hour period? That is the information we need to know, because there's a minimum number of hours we expect the baby to sleep in 24-hour period for each age group, nothing less than 12 hours for a 9-month-old. So I'm happy your baby is healthy and the baby is not sick, but you need to give us. So we have not been able to answer this question because you only say your baby is not sleeping at night. Is your baby awake for 24 hours? Or how many hours is this baby sleeping? And you may need to time it. And please note that the number of hours babies sleep tends to reduce as they grow older, because sometimes most of you are used to the way they sleep as newborn babies when they are sleeping 16 to 20 hours in a 24-hour period so that you have enough time to do all your own stuff. But as they get older, the hours begin to reduce. Number one, they tend to sleep less during the daytime and they tend to sleep more at night. And also, the number of hours also reduce. And then for 9 months old, they tend to wake up to suck at night. So they will wake up maybe every 2 3 hours so that they can suck the breast. So again, that is part of it. So so that is still within normal. So unless you tell us specifically that your baby is not closing their eyes at all, then we won't be able to advise what is really going on here or not. All right. Thank you, Ma, for more knowledge, Mrs. Blessing Adalgo. Thank you, Mrs. Blessing. Somebody is asking, where do we get the stream to allow my name to show? Okay, yeah. So if you look, for those of you on the Facebook group, so if you look at this, the posts that you are in now that say Baby Salaboyede is live, this is ATP Live, blah blah blah. Just that beginning part of that post before the video itself, you will see a link in that introductory message, and that link will say if you want your name to show, please give permission to stream yard here. Many of you don't bother to read that part. Just look at the video. But if you read that right up just before the video itself, you will see the link to click to let your name show. I hope if you can see it, just let me know. And then if you can't see it, maybe I'll do a screenshot someday and show you. All right. Let's take one more question from Facebook, then we can go to back to Instagram. Somebody saying, "Good evening, Doc. Thank you for all you do for our parents. Thank you. My 11 months old still refuse eating baby cereal. Pap, it is not compulsory for babies to eat cereal. It's not compulsory for them to eat pap. I don't know. It is not written in Nigerian constitution, okay, that baby has to take baby cereal. A lot of mothers ask me this question, and I don't know what to say to you because I just felt it's not necessary because you've already told us that your baby can eat swallow, your baby can eat other food, so the baby doesn't have to eat any baby. I know what you meant. You meant those ones that they sell in the can, in the tin, and all that you buy in the shops because that is what people believe that that's baby food in quotes. And I always say that you don't have to ever buy any of those baby food in quotes, all right? And I always try to draw people's attention to all those complimentary feeding videos that we have on our groups, on our YouTube channel, everywhere. They deliberately make those videos and you will never see them use anything from a can or from the tin or from the store. They deliberately made those videos using only food that you have in your kitchen. And we're trying to pass a message to parents that there is no baby food anywhere that you need to buy when you're feeding your children. All the food that your child needs to eat are in your kitchen. All right. They are the same food you are eating as a mom. In fact, you don't even need to buy formula as long as you're breastfeeding. So there's really no need for a baby to eat anything called baby cereal. All right. The same food you eat is what your baby is going to eat. And what you need to do is just that when we're starting babies on their own food, we tend to make it, the texture tends to be smoother. And of course, we start from porridge or mash like before we take them fully to the real solid. So there's no reason why mothers need to start worrying and panicking and getting worried that the babies are not eating baby cereals. Just you don't have to buy them. Seriously, you don't have to buy them. There are several food options, including fruits, including veggies, including all your own local staples, your rice, your yam, your potato. Of course, adding the protein, the fish, the egg, all those things. I've always thought on complementary feeding. We have a lot of our podcasts on complementary feeding, articles on complementary feeding videos, and yet it's still one of the most frequently asked questions because I think it's because we need to get rid of that mindset that this is what baby must eat, baby food, baby cereal. No, They don't need to eat any of those food, okay? So for your 11-month-old, keep breastfeeding and let the baby eat whatever you are also eating. All right. So most of you will have things like your maybe your pap or moi moi or akara, whatever for your breakfast if you are Nigerians. Maybe other people take oats or other things that whatever you eat, it's okay for your child to eat it. So you don't have to give your baby any baby cereal or baby pap, anything like that. It is not necessary at all. What is the most important thing is for you to understand the concept of what we call my baby plate or my plate. In other words, whenever you're feeding your child, there is what we call food classes. There are certain group of food that must go into every plate. Okay, so there's what we call carbohydrates or energy giving food. There's what we call your protein or bodybuilding food, and we have the plant protein, we have the animal protein. So plant protein will be things like your granules, melon, and all those things, beans. While the animal protein will be things like your fish and your egg, your meats, and all that. Of course, we also have dairy. Dairy can be your own breast milk, or it can be other milk sources like honey, cow milk protein, cow milk, and all the other yogurts and butter, cheese, all those things that go from with dairy products. And of course, you have your fruits, your vegetables. So whenever you're making food, of course, you have fats. We don't need a lot of fat, but you still need a bit of it as well. So whenever you are making your baby's food, think in of that, and at every point in time there must be at least four out of those five, six food classes, depending on how you break them down. There must be at least four out of them. So, for example, it could be, and I don't like telling mother this is your food timetable. No, because if you can mix it yourself, once you understand the concept and the principle behind it, you are the one that should make your own timetable. So, for example, if I want to do, let's say, breakfast based on pap, I can make my pap, that will be the carbohydrate. That's the pap could be maybe a millet pap, it could be maize pap, whatever you have that. And then maybe I break an egg into it. That is my source of protein. And maybe I put 1 spoon of palm oil. That is the fat inside that. And then I stir it, I cook it, and I can add the breast milk, or I can use age appropriate formula if you want, and that is the dairy product. Then I can decide, okay, I'm going to cut banana. You can make it into it and blend it together, or you can have it on the side as separate, on the side with the pap. That is your fruits, or something else. You can use something else. So that's the concept of how to make. Then maybe in the afternoon, you said, okay, instead of my protein, my carbohydrate tamarind is going to be rice. It could be mashed rice, or it could be potato. It could be mashed potato, and then maybe I mash it with a little bit of butter. Then maybe I cut some carrots or some peas into it, and then maybe I use the crayfish. That would be my protein. That is it. You mix it. There are people that devote themselves to teaching you all these recipes. If you go online, there are a lot of baby food recipes. But whatever recipe you are thinking, always make sure all the food classes are there, either mixed together or in different portion, eating separately but at the same time to make it a complete meal. So these are the principles behind complementary feeding. And there is no special any baby food anywhere, because like I said, even all those things you call baby food or baby cereal, whatever, it is made from natural food. They just package it for you into they just package it in an industrial kitchen. That is all they've done. They've packaged your maize and blend it, and you can do it by yourself. So you don't need to spend any money. And most of those things are so expensive, whereas you can get it cheaper and more natural, no preservative, doing it from your own kitchen. So that is what, and what if some people say, "Oh, I want to eat my own food." That is exactly what baby should be eating, not eating anything bought from the shops or from the store and all that. So I will encourage you, since you're in our group, you can go back to the guide section, watch all those of our feeding videos. They are very, very important so that you understand complementary feeding. Because when people ask questions, we know those of you who have not watched the complimentary feeding videos, because your question is going to betray your, it's going to show that you've not gotten that principle. Yeah, I hope that is helpful. All right. Okay. I think I've got a little bit longer on that question because I always like people to understand complementary feeding. It's one of our most basic of all questions. All right. I think I'll go back to Instagram now. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to Instagram. I'll come back to Facebook people because if not, I will forget where I stop on Instagram. Okay. I think we've answered the question on vaginal discharge. Then Melissa is saying your baby has my baby doesn't have diarrhea with it. The poo is solid. Okay, if the poo is solid and that means your baby does not have diarrhea. Okay, is it the vomiting you are worried about? But we didn't complete the dosage. So, what do you mean by the virus keep reoccurring? Because I still have not gotten your question. Is it the vomiting? What is the symptom? Because you are the one that said your baby is vomiting and stooling. So I assume your baby has watery stool because that's just my assumption. Again, that's why I don't like making assumptions. So, what is the virus that your baby has? What is the symptom this baby is having? So, your baby doesn't have diarrhea. Your baby does not have any business taking oral zinc. So, there's really no need to take oral zinc in the first instance. So, is your baby just vomiting? And then you need to tell us why is baby vomiting? What are you feeding the baby with? What quantity? Because sometimes overfeeding the baby can make them to vomit the food. So we need to have more background information so that we can answer your questions more appropriately. All right, Miss Grace Seal, say good evening, Doc. Thank you for all you're doing. God bless you. Amen. My first question, can I give my 2-year-old, hey, these people, garlic, ginger, lemon? Why do you want to give the baby all that concussion? That is the first question. I get that question a lot and it worries me because what I always want to know is that why do you people want to give the baby all this then what are you trying to achieve first? So let's start from that. Then we can answer the question. Because I know a lot of mothers take all these things. Some of you are trying to lose weight, you are trying to do this. Don't don't put it on the children, all right? Okay, so you need to let me know first what are you trying to do by giving your 2-year-old this concussion. Okay, whenever they have cold. I really don't think it solves the cold problem. All right. Why don't we prevent the child from having cold first so that we don't have to give them unnecessary concussion? So we work from that first principle. So first principle is let's keep the children warm. Let's make sure they are well immunized. Let's make sure they yeah, is it how old is a baby? So yeah, 2.5. Okay, 2 and a 6-year-old. Sorry, I didn't read your question, but so that's the most important thing is to make sure that they are not getting exposed to cold. I guess it's almost impossible because your 6-year-old at least is going to go to school. And when your 6-year-old go to school, it's going to be into other children who have cough and colds and it's going to catch it. So what you need to do, just give them fluids, lots of fluids, keep them warm, and that's all you need to do, really. So I really don't subscribe to loading them with all this concussion. For example, you can use garlic to cook your food, that is fine, but not like you just want to give only just the garlic and the ginger. These things are peppery, they are not easy on children. They don't do that much good anyway. So I really don't subscribe to that. Let me put it that way. Miss Grace, second question: how do I stop my 2-year-old from sucking her finger? Okay, so that's a childhood habit. Most children tend to stop on their own. What I normally recommend is that you distract them. So usually give them something to do with the hands and all that. Most children, why do they suck their fingers? Sometimes it's because maybe when they were growing up, they've learned to comfort themselves by sucking because maybe when they are crying, nobody didn't answer them on time. Then they find, or some children just randomly start to suck and they find out, oh, this is nice, and then they continue. So you try to distract them from it. All those rubbing bitter leaf and all those things on the finger doesn't really work. So just focus on distraction, encouragement not to sulk and all that. And what are those periods that tend to make the child to suck their finger? Like maybe are they distressed? Are they hungry? What you may want to pay attention to that and try and see how you can deal with those situations on time so that the child doesn't resort to sucking and all that. But it's something that most children will outgrow by the time they're about 4 to 6 years old, and so we usually don't worry about it. So that is that. um yeah, she used to sleep. Yeah, so just like discourage her from doing that when she wants to sleep. Find something else to get her to sleep instead of sucking on her finger. You can even buy her something like there are what we call chew toys or other toys that she can use instead of her finger as a kind of a stopgap before you now completely take it out. Though usually even for 2 years old, we don't want them to use dummies or pacifiers and all those things. At that age, we want them to just sleep. Find a way of helping her to sleep. Have a sleep routine that you follow so that she can fall asleep without having to rely on her fingers as a form of comforting herself, before sleeping. When having tantrums. So, uh, tantrums again, try and avoid all those things that trigger tantrums and all that. But like I said, most of the time, these things they tend to outgrow them as they get older. Well, children tend to have tantrums as long as they are toddlers. I really don't think we can say tantrums stop, but they have other ways of the way they show it may be different from a different age. Even teenagers, they have their own way of expressing. It's a behavior issue when they are not happy about things. It's just that they don't throw themselves on the floor, which is what the 2-year-old will do. All right. Somebody said, my baby potty train my 2-year-old. I have tried using a potty for her. I'm not sure I get that question, but she's not ready. Okay, I guess you're saying you're trying to potty train your 2-year-old, but the baby is not ready. Yes, some children are not ready. Okay, so how do you know a child is ready? Number one, they must be walking. Number two, they must be able to sit on the potty. Number three, they must be able to take down their trouser or their bottom, whatever, or nappy, whatever. They must be able to take it off, sit on the potty, and do their business. Of course, they'll still need help with wiping after they've moved the bowel or pee or whatever they've done. So if your child must be showing all those features first for you to know your child is ready. That is number one. Then number two, you may need to take time to devote time to do it, So it's not something you just do one day. No, sometimes you may want to devote like maybe 2 weeks, maybe you want to take annual leave or you want to we are on holidays or you just want to take time consistently like 2 3 weeks to just focus and preferably during summer period when the weather is not so cold and all that and focus on that because what it means that you need to take the child to use the potty let's say every 2 3 hours you must take them off the nappies and you are aware there will be accidents and you are ready to deal with all the accidents and all that so it may take time. If you want to read more about potty training tips we have an article on potty training on our website, which you can read, or you can go to there are lots of websites like eric.org.uk, for example. It's also a very good website for parents on how to potty train your children. So you can check out those tips and do it. But sometimes you just need to give it that devoted time. But make sure the child is ready first. If the child is not ready, there's no point. You're just going to gets everybody frustrated, including yourself. But once the child is showing all the signs that they're ready, then you devote the time and then you can get them potty trained quickly. Better that way. All right. I think, oh, sorry, there's another question. Gracia Beauty, good evening. Thank you for all you do. I have a preterm baby born at 30 weeks. He's now 7 months. Corrected age is 4 months. Corrected age is 4 months. I'm not sure I agree with your corrected age. Okay. My question is when can I start complementary feeding for him? So for your 7 months old, I would say just start. Okay. So for late preterm babies, we just go by the chronological age for complementary feeding. They are not really far away from the normal. So your baby was born 10 weeks early. So your baby is actually 4.5 months corrected age, but you can start complementary feeding at this age for that baby. All right. I think the last question. Tell me, what kind of supplement do you recommend for breastfeeding and lactating mother? They don't need any supplements. They just need to eat normal food, drink a lot of water. That's all. There's no special supplements for breastfeeding mothers. If you can take your normal multivitamins, iron supplements you were taking in pregnancy, that is fine, but no special supplements per se. Just eat normal, drink lots of water. That's all you need to do when you're breastfeeding. And even your eating, please, is not double calories. It is just extra 500 calories, so that we don't solve one problem and end up with another problem. So that's what I would say about breastfeeding. All right. Where did I stop? Okay, yeah. Okay, let's go back to Facebook. Okay, I think I've answered that. Yeah, Zilly Bliss, I'm not sure I get your question. You didn't tell us the weight of your baby, which is the question I asked. Somebody is saying, is it normal for a baby of 6 weeks to bring out breast milk from the nose? I won't say it is normal, but it's not unusual for it to happen. So we call it reflux. So babies can bring out breast milk. The breast milk can come back. And depending on how it comes back, sometimes it comes out through the mouth, sometimes it can come out through the nose as well. So the most important thing is that when you finish breastfeeding your baby, don't go and put them down on the bed immediately, which is what most mothers like to do, so that they can have a break. No, but you should keep them upright for 15 to 30 minutes, gently rub their back. Make sure that a bit of that breast milk has settled down before you now put them to sleep. So it doesn't completely stop the reflux, but it will reduce it significantly. So, and it's most likely not going to be coming through the nose, maybe a little bit from the mouth, which is still fine. So that is what you need to do for 6 weeks old. But if your baby is always choking on breast, always struggling to breathe, breast milk is always coming back all the time from their mouth, their nose, they're struggling to breathe, that is a different thing, because some children may have what we call some abnormal connections between their food pathway and their airway. So sometimes that may be the first sign you will see in such children, or they tend to froth a lot, they tend to bring out a lot of saliva and frothing. So that may be a sign for children what we call tracheoesophageal fistula. That means there's a connection between the airway and the foodway. Those children need to end up in the hospital. But if your child is otherwise well, but once in a while bring back milk from the mouth, and those that is reflux. And what you need to do is what I just said: keep them upright 15-30 minutes. Don't be in a hurry to put them down after they finish feeding, and they'll be fine. As they get older and bigger, the reflux tends to reduce, and usually by the time they are on solid food, it should stop completely. All right. The next question. Good evening, Doc. My 6-month-old have rashes all over her body when we started complementary feed. So the child may be reacting to the food. Again, when you are starting complementary feeds, please do one food at a time. And don't start with Tom Brown. Don't. Most of you like that Tom Brown. It's a very wrong and dangerous product to start complementary feeding with. And I don't mean to bring down the product, but that is the truth. When you are starting a child on a new food, you need to do one at a time. If you do too many things at a time, you will never know what your child is reacting to. Some children are allergic to granules, some children are allergic to fish, some children are allergic to millet, to wheat, to whatever. So when you give them a product that has 7, 4, 5 different things combined, you are never going to know what the child has reacted to. So when you want to start complementary feeding, rule number one new thing at a time. Number 2, you must give only like 1 or 3 spoons first, and then you pause and see any reaction. Okay, if there's no reaction, then you can continue with it, because some children are going to react to some of those new products. And the most important thing is for us to know what the child is reacting to and to stop it. That is, there's no special treatment. You must stop whatever discussing the allergy, because some could be very bad. Some children can actually have what we call anaphylaxis. In other words, they can have even eggs. Children can have that. And they will, they will collapse. We have to manage them in the hospital. So this mom, your baby, immediately you start complimentary, your baby start having rashes. The first thing I want to do is that stop whatever whatever new thing you've introduced, stop it first. It may be a coincidence, but we'll never know. But because you've told us that that rashes only started when you start something new. So when a child has rashes, the first thing we always want to ask, what is new? What is new to this baby? If it's the first thing that is new, you stop it and see whether the rashes will disappear. And usually it will go if it's that particular product causing that reaction. If it doesn't stop, then it's most likely it's not. And sometimes if you are not sure, what we do is that we'll challenge again, we'll reintroduce that same product a little at a time and then watch again and see whether the rashes come back. If they do, then you have your confirmation that your child is allergic to that particular item, and then you must stop it. That's it. You must stop it. And children can react to anything, they can react to virtually all the food. Some children will react to milk, some children will react to eggs, some children will react to even the cereals. So there's nothing the children cannot react to. Fish, meat, anything. So you have to be very careful when you're introducing new food. Don't go. That is why when you are starting new food, remember that breastfeeding is still the 80% of that child's meal. And that's why we talk about quantity when you are introducing new food. The goal is not to replace breastfeeding with the new food, which is what some mothers go for, because they're like, oh, I'm just so thank God that 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding is over. And they just want to forget about breastfeeding and go on to the complementary feeding. No, ma. The complementary feeding is a gradual addition to the breastfeeding. So the breast milk is still the major 80% of that new 6 month old food. So the goal is, so that is why we are very slow and with the complementary feeding. So for the first meal, 1 or 3 spoons is fine. We don't expect baby to finish a whole bowl of pap or a whole bowl of any food. No, just 1 or 3 spoons is fine. If you go through the complementary feeding videos again, all these things are there. Lots of people will tell me they've watched those videos and it's not helping. Many people are watching the videos, they are not paying attention to all the salient points. They are just watching it to tick the box, and they are not imbibing those principles. I always know, because when you ask a question, I will know that you've not really understood their principles. So when you are starting new food, it is 1 to 3 spoons. There's a reason why they make all those recommendations, because with number one, we want to be sure the child is not going to be allergic to it. We know the child doesn't need to take so much of that food, because baby is still going to take a lot of breast milk, and that is still going to give the baby enough of the food that the baby needs, while we gradually work up the complementary feeds. So it's a complement, it's an addition, it's an extension to breastfeeding. It is never a replacement for breastfeeding. And whenever you introduce something new and you notice a reaction, rashes, vomiting, diarrhea, please stop. Just stop that food. Go back to breast milk alone. And then let's work out what is going on. Let's try something new, and then we'll keep on working it out. It's very unlikely for a child to react to maybe just more than one or two. Most children will not react to all the food. So in other words, it is just 1 or 2 things you may not want to give, and then you can continue to give the other options which are available. So it is not a hydrocortisone cream, or if your child is reacting to a food. But remember, this information answer I'm giving you is based on the information you give to me. The information you're giving to me now is that your child started consuming food and start bringing out rashes. That is a very possible allergic reaction. But I don't know what your doctor saw that gave you hydrocortisone cream, and I don't know what information you gave your doctor. So you really need to be sure. Again, I didn't see your child, so the information I gave to you is based on what you told us. All right. So because if your child is having allergic reaction to food, I don't expect the doctor to be giving you hydrocortisone cream. I don't expect your baby to be giving you that. I expect your doctor to tell you to stop the food and give you something like antihistamine, like Puritin and all that. Then tell you to stop whatever is causing the reaction. But it's possible, or depending on whoever you saw. Anyway, I don't know whether you saw the right doctor, whether you saw a pediatrician or just another health professional. So that's for my own perspective. All right, baby is 2 years and 5 months. He started school fully at 7 months. Let's just be clear that when your baby starts something at 7 months, that is not school. That is a crash. Okay, a lot of mothers say baby starts school. No baby starts school at 7 months. School is 6 years, 5 to 6 years. All these things you do before that time, you are doing crash or play group, whatever, or preschool, whatever name you want to call it, but it's not school. Let's just be clear on that. Okay, so your 2 year old cannot write. I'm not expecting the 2 year old to write anything. All right, he can recite rhymes. Okay, that's good. I don't know if this is normal or not. Okay, because I can see some other children here. That is a comparison. Writing 1 to 20 at 2 years. Mm-mm, I doubt. But if I want to force him, he won't write anything. And if I play with him, he still won't write. There's nothing wrong with a child not writing at 2 years old. Nobody is right. Nobody is interested. Can the child paint? Can the child scribble? That is what they need to be doing at age of 2. All right. Usually by 3, they can copy a circle. By 4, they can draw maybe a square or a cross and all that. So like I said, at this age, in toddler age group, we are not interested in all these academic writing 1 to 20, counting 1 to 100. No, we want the child to talk. Can the child talk to you? Can they ask for what they want? Can they tell you what happened? Can they have a conversation? Those are the kind of things we're interested in. Can they play? Are they playing with other children? Are they interacting with other children? That is what I'm interested in a 2 year old. I'm not interested in a 2 year old counting 1 to 100, writing 1 to 20, or writing ABC. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the development of that child. So if your 2 year old can paint, if they can just use their hand to paint and feed themselves with a spoon, I'm happy with the fine motor function of that child. That is what is important. I know most of you send your children to this school, and the school has to justify why they have to collect your money. So they force the children to do all these things. It's really not necessary, honestly. At this age, it is play, 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 play. If you go to our Facebook group, I put up a kind of like an article or like a kind of a post on what are the appropriate play for each age group. You can Google it online as well. There are lots of things you can be doing with your 2 year old. There are a lot of things you can be doing with your 3 year old that is more age appropriate than forcing them to be writing 1 to 20. There are a lot of things they can do with their hands that is going to increase their fine motor skills. Let them learn to thread beads. Let them learn to, make things with their hand, play dough, make, things. Those are the things that are important, really. Not they must write 1 to 20. And so what? What will happen after that? Nothing. So if you want to know what are the skills you should be doing with your 2 year old, you can check it out or you can Google it online. There are lots of people that have put those things. Stop forcing a child to write and all that. That is not what we want a 2 year old to be doing. Tell me whether your 2 year old can talk, can can tell you what happened at school, can ask for things, can follow your instruction. Those are the things I really want to know for a 2 year old, not writing 1 to 20. So don't worry. And I'm not sure what you mean by play too much. A 2 year old should be playing. They shouldn't be serious. They don't have the burden of the world on their shoulder. So I don't know. There's nothing like they play too much. They should be playing. That's what they should be doing at 2 years. They don't have any worries. All right. But if you have any other concern, because sometimes parents have concerns, but they are not focusing on their concerns, you're just saying other things, you feel free to ask. But otherwise, I'm not really worried, to be honest. Okay. Juliet is asking, God bless you. Really good. Thank you. I noticed that milk pulse do come out from my baby of 3 months. Yeah. Okay. Pulse. Okay. but not always. So pus should never be coming out from the hair of a baby. Any pus is like yellow milky discharge from the ears. If you are sure it's pus, and usually it will smell and all that, that is ear infection. You need to take the child to the hospital. Make sure it is not milk, because some of you who breastfeed your baby lying down, if you are not careful, actually at night when you are sleeping, you can put the breast milk in their ears, or you put it in their nose, or you put it in a way that it is going into their ears. So what is coming out is that milk that has entered their ears. So what I normally tell mothers, if you are not very comfortable yet with breastfeeding lying down, you may want to sit up and breastfeed, so you are sure you are doing it right, so you are not putting the breast milk in the hairs. But if something that look like yellowish, foul smelling is coming from the hairs of your baby, that is infection, that is pus, and that child needs to be seen by a doctor. That child will need antibiotics. And please do not put cotton bud in the hairs of the baby. Do not try. The baby's hairs do not need any cleaning. I know most of you always want to clean. It doesn't need any cleaning. It is self-cleansing. All right. So whatever is there is trapped in the what they call it, hair wax, and it's come out. So you can clean the wax when it come out, when it is flowing out, but don't keep poking in into the hairs or try to use cotton bud. Please don't, so that you don't rupture the eardrum and then the child is going to be deaf. So okay, you already had exercise because of the lying down. If you are, I'm not. If you're not comfortable with the way you're breastfeeding your baby at night, especially for the very small baby, the 3 months old, please sit up and breastfeed your baby. Your baby should not be having any pulse from the hairs at all. The hair should always be dry, always dry. There's some of you also, when you are bathing the baby, let me answer that. Let me finish that. When you giving your baby a bath, please don't let water enter the head. Don't pour water on their head like you do your own. Don't. So this is one of the things I always teach mothers, how to bath your baby. So you know the way you wash your hair in the salon, that's the way you should wash baby's hair. Wash the hair separately, clean the face. Just get your face towel or whatever, or the foam. Just rub the face and dry it immediately, and dry the hair. Don't pour water on them and let the water be dripping down there. No, don't do that. That is another recipe for water entering the hair, and it's also make baby to gasp a lot, and because they can't handle water flowing past their nose, past all those orifices. So just wash, just dry, just wash the hair, and then you can now the rest of the body you can wash and pour water, but don't pour water all over the head of the children, so that you don't allow water to enter the hairs. We always want the hairs dry, always dry. That's what you need to do. So if you are not sure, Julia, the way you're breastfeeding, then please sit up and breastfeed. So that will be fine. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the compliments. Oh, our time is gone. All right. Let me just finish those questions that are already here, and then we can round up. Somebody said, my baby of 6 months find difficult to poo. Okay. We just started complementary feeding. We just papa milk. His poo is so strong. If you're just starting complementary feeding, the push should not be hard, okay? But you need to make sure you keep breastfeeding. Don't replace the breast milk with the pap. You are only having pap on top of the breast milk. So keep breastfeeding. Don't just keep giving only pap and formula. That's number one. So, and also make sure the baby take water, plain water in between. Now that baby is 6 months old, baby can take water. After the meal, you give them plain water. All right. So if you are just starting complementary feeding, I wonder how you'll be giving fruits daily and all that. That doesn't sound like you are just starting. That's not like you've been doing, because if your baby just 6 months old, it's very unlikely your baby should be having that kind of hard stool. But I think the most important thing is that you keep breastfeeding, you give water and the pap. Make sure, and whatever milk you're giving, make sure that the ratio of the formula to the pap is appropriate. So For example, some will tell you that you should put 1 scoop of milk to 30 mils of water. So that means you should only put 1 scoop of milk to 30 mils of the pap as well. That is the idea behind it. So don't just keep adding all the milk as the spirit leads. No, you have to measure the quantity and make sure it's right. And for your 6 month old, your baby should be on like half a cup of complementary feeding twice a day. So don't some of you will not start giving them the pap like the way you normally breastfeed them every 3 hours. No, this baby should only take 2 meals of complementary feeds a day. The rest of it should be breast milk, okay? And then you can add other things to your pap as well. Like we said, you can add like fruits, you can blend into the pap and all that. But more importantly, also make sure child is taking water. If you are doing the right thing, baby is getting the right kind of food, baby will not have constipation. So if you are having constipation, then there's something not being done right. So just review your processes and figure it out, and I'm sure you know how to what you need to correct, and everything will be fine. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My 6 year old eyes are not white. That is not everybody's eyes are not going to be white. So some people have what we call like milk color eyeball. Some people have brownish. So which is everybody is not perfectly like white. So we don't worry about that. So if the eye is not paining him and he doesn't have any other health issue, then that is his own natural eye color. You don't have to worry about it. We only worry about it if the child is having like eye discharge, like or some children who have allergic conjunctivitis, their eyeballs tend to be brownish. But otherwise, there's nothing wrong. Everything doesn't have to be perfectly white. Okay. Somebody said the only new thing is just pap and milk. So maybe you should stop the milk. That milk, the child could be allergic to the milk. Give breast milk only. So that's what I would advise for now. Um, Good evening, Doc. My visa complimentary feeding. Okay, today's complimentary feeding day. Weight at 6 months was 6.3. Weight today is 6.17. Why the reduction? I should be asking you that question because that means we're not doing the feeding well. All right, that's what it means. So again, have the same answer I just gave now. Breastfeed the way you are breastfeeding before. Don't reduce the breastfeeding. All right. Many people always think complementary feeding means we can stop breastfeeding now and focus on giving pap. No, don't reduce the breastfeeding, number one. Number two, the food you are giving now, the quantity, the quality, what are you adding to the pap and all that also matters. So these are the things you need to work into. Don't focus on the weight loss and all that. Focus on just doing the right thing. Then the weight it will bear you out, will bear testimony to you doing the right thing later. So and then why are you measuring your baby's weight every 2 weeks? That is really unusual. Usually you should measure weight once a month. So unless your baby is sick as well, some babies if they are sick, then their weight is going to go down. Because I'm curious as to why you weigh your baby at 6 months and 6 months 2 weeks. And I hope it's the same scale. Because if you weigh your baby at the hospital and then you go to your house and weigh your baby, I hope you know that the scale are not the same and it will give you different figures. So it has to be the same scale by the same person, preferably the same baby without the same, without clothes, preferably. So before we can even begin to compare, so that's also important to mention. All right, Glory is asking, good evening, ma. I noticed that I started nursing my preterm baby directly. She isn't as big as she was when she was on formula and breast milk, blah blah. The birth weight was 1.12, current weight is 4.4 at 2 months. That weight is fine to me. The baby doesn't have to be as big. It is not by your height, it's by the weight of the baby. So the weight is fine. Baby is already gained like 3 kilos in less than 3 months. That is more than good enough. So just keep breastfeeding the baby. The babies when so for for mothers of preterm babies, I know your temptation is like you want your baby to blow up quickly, you want them to become very big because they are so tiny when they started. But succumb to that temptation. We're not in a race for them to become very big, because if they become too big so quickly, it's also a problem. You're straining their hearts. All the organs have to develop at the same rate. So if they cannot afford to get too big quickly. And for me, I want your preterm baby to be on exclusive breastfeeding, not on formula. You have enough breast milk for a preterm baby. And so it's okay for the baby to also learn to suck directly. The weight is fine. And don't be tempted. Remember, your baby started at 1 kilo. So you cannot be comparing your baby to a baby who started at 3 kilos or 4 kilos already. So don't be tempted at all. Just let the baby be going at their own weight. And then, okay, you say your baby is on EBF, but you say your baby is on formula and breast milk. I'm confused. Your baby is not on EBF. Your baby was never on formula anyway. But maybe you are now on breast milk only, I guess, which is fine. Uh, but let the baby be gaining weight. But rather than that, the baby gains weight every time we weigh the baby, and make sure you're seeing your pediatrician. Don't be tempted to make them add weight so quickly. It's not necessary. They need to gain weight at their own pace. And the pace your baby is gaining weight now is lovely. I'm not worried at all. All right. Somebody said, thanks for answering my question, doctor. I only told him that this is what you should start recommend. Da, 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 da. Okay, and he recommend hydrocortisone cream. And please, what can I use? I think I've answered your question. It is not a use something kind of question. It is stop what is causing the rashes kind of question. Everything, you don't always have to fix things by using something. Sometimes you just need to stop what you're doing that is causing the problem. That's all. So if your child's, which is what I answered earlier, let me just rephrase it. Maybe you didn't catch it very well. If your child is reacting to something, all you need to do is to stop that thing. That's all. If the child is not really very itchy and all that, there's no need to give anything. If the child is very itchy and and all that, we can give things like pyridine, antihistamine, and all that. But most of the time, stop what is causing the reaction. The rashes are going to disappear. That is a very clear case for you to know that this is the allergy. So if you stop the product, the child is still having the rashes, and it's not likely the product causing the rashes. And of course, or sometimes if you wait for it to clear and you give it again and the rashes started again, then you are 100% certain. So, and you just need to take it off completely. But for you, I think most likely babies will react to the cow milk, the formula you are giving, rather than the pap. It's very unlike, I've not really seen any child reacted to pap, to be honest. But they react to the milk and all those things that you are giving your baby. So that's why you need to stop. And please see a pediatrician just to be sure you're doing the right thing. My baby is 7 weeks, baby stretch and grunts while sleeping. While grunting seems is stressing his throat. I'm not really sure that's what you mean by grunting, but there's really nothing wrong, baby, 7 weeks old baby sleeping, moving their body. I don't know why mothers expect the babies to be like statues when they sleep, like they should not move their body at all. They should move their body. That is normal. So, but I'm not sure what you meant by grunting. So I always want to be clear. But babies can make noise when they're sleeping and all that. There's nothing wrong with all that. So first time mother, sometimes we need to see your baby and see the way see what you are describing before we say don't worry. But I'm almost certain there's nothing wrong with that 7 weeks old baby. Maybe we're just dealing with a first time mom. Thank you, Fumilola. Good evening, Dr. Bimi. Thank you. All right, I think I finished all the questions. I hope I didn't leave out anybody on Instagram. Let's check. Oh yeah, there's okay. Yes, I've answered that one. Yeah, I think we've answered all the questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Our time has gone, but I think we've answered all the questions today. So, but like I said, if you still have any questions, feel free to go and post it on our Facebook group. Mondays to Saturdays, we'll answer your questions. And on Thursday, you can join me for another episode of ATP Hour. So Thursday is my teaching time. I will be talking about a particular topic. There are so many topics I want to talk about now. I was going to talk about Down syndrome. Then we also celebrated the tuberculosis day. So there are lots of days in March. And yesterday was Epilepsy Awareness Day. Do I've done something on epilepsy already? So I think I'll just talk about Down syndrome on Thursday. So you can listen to that on my podcast or on the Facebook group page, YouTube channel, on Fresh Waves Radio as well on Thursday. If you want to learn more about Down syndrome, it's one of the most common genetic or chromosomal condition. Feel free to join us. And a lot of people tend to call all children who have special needs Down syndrome babies. No, it is everybody is not Down syndrome just because they have some developmental delay. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to join me on Thursday and we'll talk about that. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. And it is bye from me. Bye bye.